Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Morning Meta. I am yours truly, Travis Spencer.
I'm Camilla Crawley.
Camilla, it is Thursday. Time for our community conversations today.
Yeah, so I'm curious to see what's arising for us here.
Yeah. So we'll get started. You'll lead us in the grounding.
Mhm.
Then we will set the intention. We'll do the centering thought. We'll start the conversation and we'll end with call to action.
Sounds good.
All right, let's begin.
All right, so for our grounding today, let's do a little why don't we just ground in the space.
Okay.
So I'm going to invite everyone to join us in the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding.
Okay.
This helps us to become as present as we can because we can only be right here, right now. So we're going to observe the space that we're in. First, settle in. If you can find a comfortable space, if you're seated, you can have your feet flat, hands can rest gently in your lap, and the body can have a nice, relaxed sort of positioning, but still, hold it so that you're wakeful and not easily able to fall asleep. And then you can keep your eyes open, especially since we're going to be noticing our space today for this grounding practice. Yeah. So let's just tune into our space. What are 5 things that you can see in your space right now? So you can take the senses of sight anywhere you'd like and just notice what's here right now in the space that you're in. And say to yourself those 5 things that you notice. Once you have those 5 things, just bring the head and face back to center. Now we're going to go to hearing. Are there 4 things that you can hear in the space that you're in? And even if there's not 4 things, just notice what is it that you're hearing, if anything. You can even notice silence. Next, we're going to go to the sense of touch. And so, what are 3 things that you can feel? It might just be your one hand in the other, okay? The clothes that you have on, right? That fabric. So, name those 3 things to yourself as you notice those 3 things that you can touch or feel. Next, we're going to go to 2 things that you can smell. Again, if someone is thinking like, I don't smell anything, then that's what you're noticing in the moment, and it's fine. And then finally, 1 thing that you can taste. And it might be as basic as noticing your own saliva in your mouth. Right? Once you've done that, you can bring all of your attention back into the moment by noticing your breath. And inhale in through the nose, exhale through the mouth. All right. And that was our grounding.
Really enjoyed that. Really paying
Mhm.
attention to the way that my clothes feel on me when you name that. It's really interesting.
Mhm.
I really enjoy doing that. Feel very present right now.
Glad, glad.
Yes. So, good people, let's set an intention for today. So, we're going to use the sentence stem. My intention for today is to. So, I'll repeat it again and invite you to say it out loud to yourself. Or if you would like to write it down, I'm going to invite you to do that as well. Let's begin. My intention for today is to. All right. So now that you've set your intention, I'm going to invite you to release that intention and to move through your day with purpose. All right. So, also, I say ashe to your intention for today as well. I think that's a wonderful way to end it, the power of ashe.
And ashe, for those who might just be joining us for the first time, you can give a little bit of what ashe means to you.
Okay. Yeah. So I say ashe is so shall it be. So my desire is to manifest. It's the power of manifestation. So shall it be.
And it has its roots in the Yoruba culture, which is out of Nigeria
Yes.
as well, and really speaks to the power of energy and our power as well.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's get into our centering thought. The centering thought for today is: let us not return to what was normal, but reach toward what is next. Again, let us not return to what was normal, but reach toward what is next. And this is a quote by Amanda Gorman. And this is an interesting quote because what came to me even after reading it that first time was, what is normal? You know? And that can be different for each and every person. And when I think about just on a larger scale of what's been going on, that normal may not actually be normal. It could be a lot of what has been abnormal going on for so long that now it has been called normal just because it's lasted so long, not necessarily because it's normal. So that was a really quick thing that kind of came up for me when I immediately read that quote. So as we go into this conversation today, I feel like I have like three different things swirling around in my mind. So I could go so many different directions. And I'm thinking about this month is National Mental Health Awareness Month.
Absolutely.
And what's coming to me is that idea I just talked about, where something that actually is abnormal can start to become normal because it's just like going on so long and it's habit, and that you've fully taken it on. And I want to kind of connect that to mental health. Some of the things that we may be saying to ourselves, we've been saying it so long, or we've been taking in what other people have said to us and internalizing it and then repeating it to ourselves for so long that we begin to think, oh, that's normal, and that turns into maybe the way that we think about ourselves, the way that we're treating ourselves, how it shows up in how we interact with ourselves and others. So this idea of something that may not be supportive and helpful kind of being twisted into like, oh, that's normal.
Absolutely. I think that people who have experienced trauma or they're living out that trauma, that becomes normalized for them. You begin thinking about depression, anxiety. I'll give you an example. For good people, I meditate typically in the morning and I meditate in the evening. And oftentimes the same thoughts come through my mind at the beginning of my meditation. And it's become a habit. So much so that it would begin to get on my nerves. And I would fight it. So I would think that I'm doing something wrong. And then I realized that I needed to embrace what was arising and be kind to it. And then those thoughts would gently begin to fade. Because again, when you begin talking about normal, that's it. Those things come up, behaviors, you're used to responding to people in a certain way. You're looking at the world, wanting things to be different, and that becomes the norm. The norm becomes fighting, 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 pushing away, pushing away, pushing away. And next thing you know, it is so normalized that you don't know how to be, just to rest, just to be kind to yourself and to others. It always, I think I'm jumping around, but you know how I talk. I think that we are so used to it, um, looking at others with the side eye, not trusting others. That's to the point it has become so normal for us not to trust one another that we are always looking at people like, what is their side angle? What are they trying to really get out of me? When we can just be present and show up for one another. So we're in a very abnormal situation that we have normalized.
Mm. Yeah, I'm thinking about even with what you mentioned about the practice,
Hmm.
and I want to go back to that for our community out there. That as you are, excuse me, whether you're someone who's just starting to develop your practice or you've been doing this a really long time, that what Travis just said, that is the practice in itself.
Hmm.
So if you have thoughts that are constantly repeating, every time that you meditate, every time you do different practices, that's the fact that you're noticing that, that's the practice.
Hmm.
This is a practice of bringing your attention to whatever is there. It's not about, oh, I see that, I see that. So now I'm immediately going to start digging at it and figuring out. The first phase of all of this really is the awareness. And you only come to that awareness by allowing yourself to just notice and, as best you can, be with what you are noticing.
Hmm.
Because the reflex I'm thinking about, again, the way that we've been trained and conditioned is, soon as we notice something, oftentimes it's like we immediately have to jump into action.
Hmm.
And with this practice, it's really about just allowing, like, oh, okay, that's there, and oh, it's again, okay, okay, and then you just keep allowing it to do what it needs to do, run its course, run through, run over, until you have that felt sense of, okay, so now it's time for me to get curious about this.
Hmm.
What is this about? But it doesn't have to be immediate all the time.
Hmm.
So with our mental health and our thoughts, that's an invitation. Notice the thoughts that come up most often. Are the thoughts related to, and this is down the line, but eventually you might begin to notice the pattern, and that's really what I think is a nice practice as well. Just noticing this keeps coming up, this keeps coming up, this keeps coming up, and then just naturally you're going to start making the connections of, like, oh, it's always about something about work. Oh, it's always something about the kids. Oh, it's always something about um, how I feel about myself, whatever that is.
Hmm.
And as you continue with the practice like this one, with a mindfulness practice, then you can allow yourself to do your best to accept what's there, um, be with it by using the breath, the body, all the different things that we're doing, to allow yourself to be curious about what it's all about, and then continue to nurture yourself around what arises for you. So you might make a connection, and then from that, you start to feel a certain way. So now there's an emotion there. So before it was just like all these thoughts, and now there's an emotion there, guilt, or it might be happiness, whatever it is. But allowing yourselves to bring that compassion in when all these different things start to arise at different times.
Yes, I agree with that. And I think one last thing I want to say is that when you begin talking about normal, um, I often think that if you want to truly measure what is normal, look at a 2 year old,
Mhm.
because a 2 year old is, they're very honest. They are in touch with their emotions. If they're feeling a certain way, they're showing it. You know, they speak their truth. And it isn't until you're socialized that you begin to hold back because you're concerned sometimes with your safety, how other people are going to perceive and respond to
Mhm.
you or react to you,
Mhm.
can be the reasons why you begin to create what we call abnormal situations that we normalize,
Mhm.
right? So these wonderful practices and what Camilla has shared with us about um, being curious really supports us in going back and being as authentic as we can in our lives. You know, again, this work that we're doing, it is um, to support your healing and well-being. So it's not always about healing. It is also about being,
Mhm.
with wellness, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Being with wellness. So being well, well-being. Um, yeah, that's what's arising for me.
Mhm.
In coming to the end of Mental Health Month, I think it's important for us to really begin to sit with how we're doing. Maybe ask
Mhm.
ourselves those questions. How are we doing emotionally? How are we doing physically? How's our stress levels? You know, how are we doing socially and spiritually as well? You know, and whatever answer you come up with for yourself, be kind. If you feel that there's some places that you can grow in, then allow yourself to grow. You know, but there's no reason to be mean to yourself. Just be kind and be compassionate with yourself as you continue this journey of life.
Mhm. Yeah, I
Yes.
really love that. So it sounds like we have here a few things, really just checking in. So that's a practice in itself.
Hmm.
Everything you named about, you know, um, what are you noticing in terms of what you're thinking, how
Hmm.
you're feeling,
Hmm.
also any kind of emotions or sensations. So noticing the mind, the body, and the spirit.
Hmm.
And as you notice that, again, just naturally, not that you have to be policing yourself, but just naturally start to notice any patterns through curiosity.
Hmm.
You know, keep that in mind that it's about curiosity and start to just notice the things that kind of keep coming up over and over and over again and check in with yourself. Be
Hmm.
kind to yourself and compassionate to yourself. And I want to just end on, like, in particular, for those of us who identify ourselves as either, like, Black or African American or a person of African heritage, no matter where you have landed on this on the globe. That also a part of our mental health, and maybe this will be another community conversation.
Hmm.
Another large part of our mental health has, I believe, a lot to do with what does authenticity mean,
Hmm.
especially when we live in a society that has spent a lot of time telling us who we are, how we need to be, and also being in spaces where we have been and this is just my opinion, but in order for us to feel like we can survive in certain spaces, what does that mean when we feel like we need to function and present ourselves in a way that is through the eyes or the lens of someone else?
Hmm.
Because all of that too can play on your mental health as well.
What does Du Bois call that?
Double consciousness.
Oh, double consciousness.
Hmm.
Yes.
Yep.
Hmm.
So just a little nugget there to leave with everyone as well.
Yes. All right, good people. That was a wonderful, wonderful
Hmm. Yeah, I
conversation.
had to stop myself because I was like,
We were
we
about
got
to
to
dive right
go
back
right back
in, right?
in. So
Yeah.
yes, but I wanted to just add something in there that was culturally related too, because I think
Hmm.
again, I think that's a big part of our mental health and just our health overall. What does it mean to live within this existence in
Hmm.
places and spaces where everyone is telling you, you know what, you need to be the opposite of that.
Hmm. Yeah.
So, thank you all for joining us today for this conversation. And call to action. I like for this for not just Mental Health Awareness Month, but just moving forward with your
Hmm.
mental health overall. Let's take in some of the things that were mentioned today. Do a check-in every now and then on
Hmm.
your mental health. You can also choose to reword some of those things. Like once you start to notice some patterns and things like that, you can choose to say something different to yourself in terms of thoughts and your mental health. And
Hmm.
was there anything else? We have a check-in, affirmation.
Oh, like and subscribe.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely like and subscribe and share with everyone that could benefit from the channel.
Hmm.
All right, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, good people. So we are starting each day grounded, intentional, and connected. Ashe.
Ashe.